Hello, gamers. I would like to start off the video by saying thank you to those that saw my previous video for the likes, the comments, and the subs. I greatly appreciate it. But I had a thought, and while I was sitting there arguing with myself about what I wanted to do, I came to the conclusion that I would make a video explaining more about what I want to do for the games and how it's going to happen. Because as much as I would love to just go and say that I have all of these consoles for every type of generation with a whole bunch of games and everything, as much as I would love to say that, because that's any gamer's wild wet dream is what I'm going to say. I sadly do not. So I wanted to explain how I'm going to be doing it and give an idea currently of what I plan on actually playing for the consoles and give an idea more on as well the games that I'm going to like have an expansive idea of the games that are going to be there. So for starters, I'm going to be using emulators. For those of you that don't know what an emulator is, or specifically to the console emulators, it is a program that was designed with the intent of mimicking as much the console that it was designed for. Now, it doesn't mean that it's by any reason perfect, because let's be honest, you can't make it perfect. There's too many issues across a multitude of things to make it work with every game. So when it comes to the idea of me picking out a game, or if anyone makes recommendations, I also have to go and check to see how the game is going to work on the emulator that it's going to be running for. So sometimes if I go and make a comment about a game that I plan on trying to do for a video or whatever, if you don't see that game specifically picked, it is more than likely going to be for the fact that there were too many complications to try to work through, or I could not find a good enough fix to make the game run properly on that emulator. So, to go to the next thing, I want to talk about the emulators as of this moment in specific that I had in mind. To start, the emulators I've currently been thinking about using for consoles are going to be for the PS1 through the PS3, the Xbox 360, and the GameCube and the Wii. I want to put a little bit more effort into working with some of the other consoles or the emulators for those consoles, but that's going to take a little bit of time because I have to go and find the emulator, I have to test it, and then I have to go and make sure it works with a bunch of varying things. And currently, the most experience that I have with any emulator is specifically to those ones that I have just stated. So any game that you're going to see is going to be in one of those consoles. So for in terms of games, there isn't going to really be restrictions, is what I want to say, in terms of something that is friendly to YouTube, is what I'm going to say. So nothing that is revealing or anything within a certain section or whatever. I want to try to keep it as PG-13 as possible. I don't want to be anything explicit that will be a problem with a younger generation or anything that they should not see. So there is leeway with that idea, but I also want to make it known as well that that also means that it's not going to be just within like a genre that you might only like. So there's going to be shooters, obviously, racing games, RPGs, JRPGs. It's going to be a very wide, varying section that probably even some games I typically wouldn't play if I were younger. But that would defeat the purpose of exploring old games that are nostalgic to today's date. And I would like to keep this nostalgia alive. That's why this count exists, is to keep the nostalgia of where we started and the games that we had before to what we have now. So I'm in the process of figuring out the rest of the games that I want to do. I have found a few for the emulators that work appropriately that I want to use. So hopefully in a couple of days, I will have the rest of the games picked out for the rest of the emulators that I need to pick them out for and make sure that they're fully functioning. So hopefully here in a couple of days, there will be the video of me stating which games for which emulators and everything that I have already picked out. But like I already said in the last video, that I wanted to keep it as story-based as possible, and that if I'm having a spur-of-the-moment type thing, I might choose to play something that's not fully campaign. But in that same thought process, I also was thinking about the idea of maybe tinkering with a co-op sense for them if they have an option to make that work. So you might occasionally, once every so often, depending on, if I find something that's interesting or if you guys make a recommendation, you might find me playing a game with a co-op sense that is actually worth the time of playing it as co-op with someone. So you might every once in a while see something like that, because that also helps to add to nostalgia, because nostalgia also is from when you used to literally, to play with your friends, would actually have to go to your friend's place. You couldn't just casually text your buddy, be like, hey, you want to hop on the game or something like that. Like, you actually had to show up. There was LAN parties, there was things of that nature. And while this doesn't really bring that part of it back, it's the idea of having to play the game in a certain way that kind of gets as close to that as possible. While still online, it can still help to bring about the nostalgia feel. So the goal will just be to be as nostalgic as possible across the board. That is the goal. So I think that is everything that I wanted to discuss, that I had on my mind. I don't know. A slight little thing in case anyone hasn't noticed, I have a little bit of the autism and an interesting flavor of the ADHD, so it makes keeping the same thought process a little bit more difficult than I would like for it to be, but I do try my best. But yes. So like I said, I will hopefully in the next couple of days have the video out for which games are going to be on which emulators. And then I will have the schedule that I have planned for which days of the week will be played on those. Because like I said in the previous video, it will be 5 emulators. So 5 different days where I have like a 2-day resting period, whether or not it just be that I'm going to put in a little bit of research if I come and run into any issues or whatever, just having the extra 2 days off just to figure something out or do whatever. So with that being said, everything's been covered. I appreciate you all for staying this long, and I appreciate anyone who chooses to sub, like, and comment, and I hope you all to see you in the next video.